Okay, today I want to talk about NFTs and especially NFTs in the whiskey industry. Glenfiddich has just launched a new rare whiskey together with an NFT, and this is what we want to explore. Is this or just a big hype cycle at the moment? What is the future of NFT in relationship with luxury goods in particular? We've seen lots of digital goods being sold as NFTs. Now we're seeing more of real luxury goods being linked to NFTs and so this is a super exciting topic that's getting a lot of attention. And I'm here with Will Peacock, who is the head of luxury at William Grant and Son, who is the parent company of Glenfiddich, one of the whiskey that has just been released, and with Dov and Sam Falic from BlockBar. And you've partnered together. So maybe you can introduce yourself very briefly and let's outline what you do. Will, do you want to kick this off?
Yes. So hi, Will Peacock. I'm the Global Luxury Director, as you say, at William Grant and Sons. My day-to-day job is looking after the marketing and sales of our rarest whiskies, and Glenfiddich is a priority there, alongside the likes of the Balvenie as well. So we're really excited to partner with the team at BlockBar, who came to us with a really exciting idea. And I'll let the guys talk to you a little bit more about what that is. So over to you, Dov.
Yeah. So my name is Dov Falic. I'm a co-founder with my cousin Sam. Our background is in the duty-free business. So our family operates the largest duty-free business in the Western Hemisphere. And what my job personally is the global spirits director. So I'm trying to get these allocations from Will and his team all the time, all these high lux spirits, and that's where we really, and Sam will give you his background on the technology side, but that's where we really came to this technology and understood. We kind of saw a lot of issues in the high end, in the high end spirits industry, especially around trying to get it, authentication, all that stuff that we can get into. And that's where we just came to this. I'll let Sam introduce himself, but there's just so many talking about hype, and we'll get into that and all that stuff. I think there is some hype around NFTs, but I think that eventually it's going to move into the space that we believe we're in, where it's not about hype. It's really about the authenticity and the technology behind it and all that stuff.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm Sam Falic. I'm Dov's cousin and the other co-founder of BlockBar. We founded BlockBar along with our other two cousins, and like Dov was saying, we have a lot of experience within the spirits industry. And then when we started on this project of building BlockBar, we really built this entire infrastructure, and then we're looking for the perfect brand partner. And we could get into it in a little bit why we think that William Grant and Son and Glenfiddich specifically was the perfect launch partner. We couldn't have asked for anyone better. We'll get into that, I guess, a little bit later. And like Dov is saying, there may be a lot of hypes around NFTs, but if you look by any metric, this is really just the beginning. So I think that this is going to be, the beginning of many industries getting into NFTs. I think it's amazing to see that the spirits industry is on the forefront of innovation, and primarily that Glenfiddich is really the first major brand, in my opinion, in the spirits industry to take this leap into the future of what we believe is really going to be the future of e-commerce.
Very good. And Will, you in the background, you've got some lovely whiskies. You're joining us from Singapore, right? Where are you today?
I'm based in our regional office in Singapore, and I'm sat actually within our private client showroom. So here we have our rarest whiskies from our portfolio, and you see behind me some of them from Glenfiddich as well, such as the right here, the 1973 Armagnac finish that we're partnering with the guys on. So wonderful place to be, and interestingly, a huge, an exciting market itself in the NFT and crypto blockchain community as well.
Very good. So what makes this? Maybe you can tell us a bit more about this particular whiskey and why you felt this would be a good fit as the first NFT linked whiskey.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenfiddich has been around for a number of years. In fact, it all kicked off in 1887, so over 130 years ago. We prided ourselves on a culture of innovation, and Glenfiddich has been proud to bring to market innovative whiskies all the time. We've had things like rum finishes, ice wine finishes. Most recently, we're working on biogas fuel from our whiskey waste in the distilleries to power all of our delivery trucks. So we were very excited when Dov and Sam came to us with a proposal, the BlockBar. We had been considering the blockchain technology for quite some time and looking at the right way to use it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we were excited by the proposal. The whiskey itself is phenomenal. It's a very unique whiskey. Originally distilled in 1973, it went through some maturation, and then it was put down as one of these innovations in an Armagnac cask, and that has given it over 20 years marrying an incredibly unique flavour. It's dark fruits, rich tannins. It's got incredibly syrupy, sweet finish. It's very unique. And so that kind of marriage of a very rare, very unique proposition in a whiskey with the BlockBar platform felt right for us. So yeah, that's the story of the two coming together.
Very good. So maybe we can explore NFTs in a bit more detail. Maybe Dov and Sam, you can give us your view on where we are currently. What are NFTs, and where do you see them going in the future?
Yeah, so this is kind of my wheelhouse, so I'll take this one. But so NFTs, it sounds very overwhelming, but it's really quite simple. So it actually stands for non-fungible tokens. So the word non-fungible just means that it's unique and it's not interchangeable. So you could think of art, meaning there's really only one Mona Lisa, regardless of how many prints there are, and then also real estate. Real estate is non-fungible, meaning you can't just trade one piece of real estate for another one. Each one is specifically unique. So when it comes to non-fungible assets, whenever anyone wants to go and resell it, they're always going to have to prove two things. They're going to have to prove that it's authentic, and they're going to have to prove that they own it. So with real estate, people do this with a deed of title, which is, I actually think, an innovation that will be going on the blockchain at some point soon as well, but I won't get into that. So the T part of NFT stands for tokens, and all NFTs are a way to prove ownership and authenticity of unique one-of-one assets via the blockchain. And while there's a lot of skeptics about cryptocurrency and NFTs, and this entire industry is taking off, but it's a little bit overwhelming for a lot of people, the underlying technology behind both is a very proven technology in terms of proving authenticity. It's a very efficient way of proving authenticity. So again, given how powerful NFTs are, Dov and I saw the opportunity that this is still really just the beginning. If you look at the numbers and the adoption that's going on throughout the world, we could see that it's nowhere near the middle or the end, that this is just taking off. And primarily with NFTs, where we saw the opportunity was there's a lot of people who are interested in cryptocurrencies, who are interested in NFTs, but it's still this barrier to entry to buy an NFT from an artist or from a company that they've never heard of before. So our goal primarily was to provide NFTs from luxury brands, and then also capture this entirely new demographic and solve a major issue in whatever category that we were going into. Dov is the one who identified the issue in the spirits industry. Now, of course, I'm not saying that there's issues in the spirits industry, it's just things could always get better, and primarily around authenticity, which just made it the perfect match to couple with NFTs. And given our results yesterday, as we were discussing, we sold 15 bottles, $18,000 per bottle. Each bottle was reserved within 4 seconds, and we captured a demographic of, I believe, 8 different countries. Primarily, the age group was 25 to 34. So Will could probably tell you more what the usual demographic is for Glenfiddich customers, but we feel that we targeted a much younger consumer, that we're getting a much younger audience very excited about Glenfiddich and about William Grant & Son, and creating this sort of brand loyalty and allowing equal access throughout the entire world. And our thesis was really proved correct. We were met with enthusiasm. We had I think it was around 1,600 people who were trying to buy the NFT at once. They all came in, and I wish we had more to give them. So I guess that's also on you.
Very good. So that is interesting. I recently had a conversation with the CEO of Asprey, another luxury goods company, and again, they are now going into the NFT space where they're selling high-end leather goods, high-end China, and so on. And they were saying that actually it gives the product more value, because it is always very difficult when you want to sell something to then make sure that you can verify that this is an authentic piece of artwork. And I guess the same is for whiskeys. Whiskeys now have become collectible items. I'm interested to see how many of the 15 bottles will now be drunk when people spend $18,000 on a bottle of whiskey. So before we go and explore how the NFT actually makes it more or proves authenticity, maybe Will, you can talk about what people are getting in addition to just a beautiful bottle of whiskey. What added value comes with the NFT component, and that there's a digital component to all of this as well. So maybe you can explore that and explain that.
Yeah. So for us, the added value here is the authenticity. Yeah, absolutely. And that is also, however many times that is sold and rebought, it can prove that along the chain. Actually, for us as well, there's another key one, and that's actually about how we build an ongoing engagement with buyers, a relationship from the brand directly to you, and that can be facilitated by the NFT as a digital receipt or a portal back to the brand and back to the buyer.
Smartphone disconnected.
So in terms of that we think is really interesting, because effectively you're building communities ongoing over time, and no matter how many times that NFT and bottle is sold on. So what would we be doing? Well, actually, we're looking at things like expert advice on rare whiskey. We're looking at virtual distillery tours, access to new additions, etc. So we think that there are countless opportunities ahead, of which we're only really scratching the surface of. So for us, particularly at Glenfiddich, we really look at that benefit of building a new community of collectors there, and whether they're younger, digitally savvy investors, or some of our existing buyers I know are very keen to, for the first time, come in on this as well. So yeah, ongoing experiences, relationship with us is all important.
And I believe you get a digital spinning bottle as well when you buy the whiskey, right? So I guess as more of our world moves into the digital space, people then have a way to showcase their ownership of this beautiful whiskey, right?
Right. Yeah. So we were talking to a few of our buyers or potential buyers, and what they were saying is, yeah, I can, and these are. Knowing a lot of these buyers, because again, through our duty-free business and all this stuff, we have these buyers who are collectors today. It's not you're not only talking about this new demographic, but in today's collectors, even they say I buy this bottle in some prime location like Harrods or high-end duty-free shop. Then they put it in their house. It sits in a cubby somewhere, can't be showcased. It's fragile. There's kids running around. You have so many obstacles, and then at the end of the day, how many people actually go into someone's house? What one of the buyers was telling us, I can get maybe 10 to 20 people to see it or to talk about it and all that stuff. Where today I buy this digital version, I put it on my social media. All of a sudden, now I can access the whole world. Everybody can see what I bought. I can prove that I bought it. Everybody knows that I'm the owner. And I think that's one of the things that's really changing today. One of the other, on your previous point, things that we see in our stores is we have these customers that are coming in and looking for these high-end spirits, and sometimes they just missed the boat. They just couldn't get there on time because, we only had 3 bottles and he traveled a week later, or he got there too late. And it doesn't mean that they don't have the means to buy it. It doesn't mean that they don't have the access. They just the wrong place at the wrong time. And then if somebody actually who did buy it wants to then pass it on to someone else, it becomes very difficult. And the brand, and if they want to get in touch with the brand, just there's no data there. It's someone going in, coming out, and then you kind of lose track of where that is when there's so much more of a story to tell for everyone. And like Will said, being in touch with your consumer, understanding where that is, and the customer always being able to engage with you. That's where we believe the real value is for everyone.
Yeah, and also just to clarify one thing, to really explain it to everybody who doesn't necessarily understand crypto or NFTs. Basically, the way it works is a consumer buys a bottle, they own it, we store it for them in our facility in Singapore, and then we issue them a digital version of their bottle, as you were saying. That digital version acts as proof of authenticity, verification of ownership, and then the right to have that bottle redeemed at any time. And then that consumer can then sell that digital version along with those rights to anyone across the world. So it allows consumers from across the world to interact with each other without ever having to actually have physical possession of the bottle or having to send it to each other along the way.
That's very interesting. So how much of the value of those $18,000 do you think is in the whiskey, and how much is in the NFT part of it?
So I think that primarily people bought the NFT because it was from Glenfiddich and it was a very exciting way. And for a consumer, this is a bottle, as Will was saying, that is very rare. It's priced at the price that it would be found in a retail location. And the consumer now has the option to buy the bottle using credit card or Ethereum, have the bottle delivered immediately if they want to, in which case it operates as a regular e-commerce platform. But now they have the added benefit of not being forced to receive the shipment immediately. They have the option to, have someone store it for them free of charge and have it delivered immediately. So I think primarily the price is based on the liquid, but now it's become an instant collectible, meaning whoever owns that bottle owns, the first bottle of Glenfiddich to be sold via NFT. Correct me if I'm wrong, Will. So I think it's very exciting. It's cemented in history. It's accounted for on the blockchain. No one is ever going to be able to make the claim that they own part of the first collection unless they own this bottle of Glenfiddich.
And I think you see prices go up in NFTs, and there's many reasons for that. Obviously, the first ones that were out there and all that stuff. That's because everything is going to be time stamped in history. What we don't want to do is we don't want to price gouge or anything of that sense. The price that this bottle is being sold at is the correct price for the whiskey. Will can give more information on that, but again, this is a very rare and unique 46-year-old whiskey, hand selected by three malt masters, and I think if you would find this bottle in a store, which they won't be in stores, but if you would find this bottle in a store or something similar, how much 46-year-old whiskey are available in the world. So that's really the point. We're not trying to bring in some type of, just because of the NFT hype, that's not what we're looking for. It's really something unique that's a collectible, regardless of whether it was an NFT or not. It'll be able, it can be a collectible and appreciate in value in a different way, just because there's more access. So it's more democratized and more people can get to it. But the price of what we sold it at was the price that it should be sold at. That it would be suggested to be sold at.
Very good. So, Will, what do you see in terms of the future for NFTs in the luxury whiskey industry?
I think it's got a very exciting growing space that we will be really exploring fully, because the key things here are around how we can create new communities of collectors who are interested in really rare, great whiskey like this Glenfiddich is really important to us. So new avenues to explore from both communities, how we have an ongoing long-term relationship. And of course, we're validating that as well, and doing that through a great partner such as BlockBar, who've been able to facilitate all of this. So I can see that really expanding. And it sits very comfortably alongside the rest of our business, where we do private client sales where we do auctions as well. The market is growing significantly. Rare whiskey or rare single malts over £200 a bottle is expected to grow to $1 billion US in the next 5 years. And just to give you a sense, in the UK auction market, rare single malts is expected to sell about £75 million worth of sales value just this year. That's 30% up from 2019. So it's a growing industry with really passionate collectors in, and I think NFT provides us with a really great service for buyers and collectors.
Very good. And Dov and Sam, what do you see as the future of NFTs then? It may be in the luxury industry first, but then overall, what are the things that you are excited about?
So first, I completely agree with Will, meaning, I think that NFTs and spirits make a lot of sense. And I think, spirits is actually a very strong performing asset class, but it once was that not many people knew how to invest in this asset class or had access to invest in this asset class. And like Will was saying, this is now, solving a problem for current consumers, but also reaching an entirely new demographic that should be keen to invest in this asset class. In terms of NFTs, I think that, as I was saying earlier, the technology is a very, very efficient way to prove authenticity. And also in modern times, I always say everyone wants to own cool things, but in today's day and age, there's not really a need to store those things yourself, especially when people are on the move. So I think that NFTs are going to be a huge value. I think it's going to be a very regular part of everyday life moving forward in the future. I think that there's use cases for it in real estate, as I was saying with deeds. I think that there's a use case for it for sure in luxury spirits, in luxury items overall. And I think it's going to be, I think soon people aren't even going to say the word NFT. It's just going to become a regular part of life.
Very good. So how many of these 15 bottles have you sold? So if somebody wanted to drink them and get them, how would they do this? Or would they just say to you, send me the bottle and I drink it? Or
so we were actually calling a lot of the people yesterday because I wanted to hear where they were from. So I spoke to someone from Holland, Scotland, United States, Colombia, Singapore, just in a matter of hours, which is crazy. Some of them said that they bought it because they love Glenfiddich, and at the end of the day, whiskey is made to get drunk at some point. Like Will said, there's going to be a lot of incentives provided by the brand to invite that consumer to the distillery or somewhere in the United States to drink it privately. A lot of the consumers say that they do eventually plan on drinking it. Also, one thing that we didn't mention, and it'll answer this question and something that you asked earlier, the way that they redeem the physical bottle is they essentially have to burn the digital version. So you can only really have one. So to access the physical, you have to exchange the digital for the physical. Now, when you burn the digital version, the number of NFTs goes down. So right now, for example, there's 15 bottles of NFTs of Glenfiddich NFTs. If one of these consumers decides to redeem it and drink the physical bottle, now there's only 14 versions of that NFT. So thus it becomes more scarce and even more of a collectible. And as people continuously drink it and redeem it, we're going to be left with 3 or 2 or 1 Glenfiddich NFTs, and nobody knows what that's going to be, because that really is going to be a collectible that is timeless.
Interesting. Yeah, and this is nice for companies to keep track of it, because normally you sell goods, you have no idea how many of them are still in existence. So that is a really powerful benefit, I think. I guess when you talk about really expensive collectibles, there's also there will be criminals. People will create fakes, and you see this everywhere. So I think there's obviously the benefit of having this stored in Singapore, you having a digital certificate. But for me, there's still, how do you then link your digital certificate to the real bottle? Because you could, in theory, buy the digital NFT, when you get the bottle, so to have it in your hand, you will then destroy your digital NFT.
No, in order to receive the physical product, you have to burn the NFT.
Okay, interesting.
So what many NFTs were doing was, or many luxury companies were doing early on, and I don't know if that's going to change, but they were kind of using NFTs as a digital receipt. So you would buy the product and get the digital, you would get an NFT as a receipt. The flaw we saw in that, and again, it's just different ways of operating, is that once you have that, then it's yours to tamper with or whatever, it's yours to prove the authenticity. The reason we're doing it this way is because you can't, as long as it's in our custody with the brand, we can prove authenticity. Once we deliver that bottle, then we can't prove anything anymore, because once you have both, then again, that's when things can happen.
Yeah. And exactly for the reason that Dov is saying, that we've gotten a lot of offers from a lot of large private collectors of spirits, but at BlockBar, we only deal directly with brands because, as Dov was saying, once the product touches the consumer's hand, and like you were saying, we can't prove authenticity because it could, in theory, be tampered with. So, the number of counterfeits within the industry is really much higher than people think. I definitely think that it's an issue that could be solved, and we think that it could be solved very easily with NFTs. So rather than scrambling and trying to prove authenticity at an auction house, with a bottle, it's very difficult. And rather than selling it and having to prove authenticity, we see the opportunity in doing it backwards, meaning we'll issue authenticity, but we'll keep the physical bottle in custody. Now, to redeem the physical bottle, you have to give up the digital version. So then, at that point, it's removed from the ecosystem.
Very good. So how many of the 15 bottles that you sold were bought by credit card, and how many of them were bought with Ethereum or cryptocurrency?
So 12 of them were bought with cryptocurrency, and then 3 of them were bought with fiat, whether that was with credit card or with wire transfer.
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, and I guess there are lots of people sitting on lots of cryptocurrency thinking they can splash out on things.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, this is a chance for people who own a lot of cryptocurrency or to invest in a strong performing digital asset that they didn't necessarily have access to before.
Very good. So looking into the future then, do you envisage a world where every bottle of whiskey will have an NFT linked to it, or will be sold as an NFT?
I think it's definitely a very exciting space. I think when it comes to rare whiskey, you can see the potential of this beyond sort of small batch releases. So yeah, I think there really is a long-term potential there. The rarity of the whiskey, the exclusivity, the pricing of that means that actually it lends itself very well to having to prove the authenticity of that. Whether that's all bottles of whiskey that are produced, I don't know, but it's certainly solving a great opportunity in the rare whiskey space, the rare spirit space, and I assume wines as well and other collectibles. So exciting to see how this goes, and this is very much a first step.
The one concern I always have when I look at blockchain technology overall is the computing power required to do this. So basically what people are now doing by buying an NFT is that they are not only buying a bottle of beautiful whiskey, but they're also causing some impact on the environment, because we need lots of computers to run those on authenticate all of this in the background. So what's your view on this? Because my personal view is that we're not quite, that there will be we will have different blockchain technology in the future that will hopefully be less computing intensive. Where do you see all of this going, and what's your response to the environmental concerns?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we're very concerned of. It's not something that we take lightly. As you said, we do believe that a lot of cryptocurrencies are moving more towards proof of stake, which will be less harmful and less impactful on the environment. At BlockBar, again, we're committed to providing authenticity. We're committed to offering the best solution for the consumers and, of course, for the environment. So we've built our platform in a way that if we had to switch cryptocurrencies, if we had to switch blockchains in the future, If one became more efficient or if one didn't make the change necessary, it wouldn't be an issue. But I also do think that, in a way, cryptocurrencies and blockchains have created an incentive for consumers to fix the environmental impact that it's having, because it incentivized a lot of people to now financially incentivize people to now make a difference on the environmental impact. And a lot more people are now paying attention to it. So I think ultimately it will prove a net positive. Also, I do have to I have to thank our developers, number one, because they built such an incredible platform, but they've also conducted research on the exact environmental impact that each transaction takes. So for us, it's easy to pinpoint, exactly how harmful it is on the environment. And at some point, we could make the change if we have to.
Very good. Anything else that we haven't yet explored that you think would be worth mentioning in this super exciting space?
What do you think?
No, I just think that as you said, I think that the world, as the younger generation, takes a bigger role. I think, they really live their lives more in the digital world than in the physical world. And for us, and maybe a little bit older than us, and even when we told our fathers about the business, they thought we were crazy initially. It's like, who cares about something so digital? But I think, the younger generation, as I said, they spend more time in the digital world than the physical world, and it's very important to them. That's where they live, and that's where they interact. We saw it in a year of a pandemic how much the digital world came to affect. We're all speaking on Zoom or on these video conferences, which we weren't used to as much, and that's changing. I think Sam always talks about how a letter from Thomas Jefferson is worth so much money, and it's in a museum. But why isn't the first email that Bill Gates ever sent out from his Microsoft computer not worth just as much, or worth something on a digital realm? And I think that's what NFTs brings. It brings that ability to really authenticate and to show that how important the digital world is today, and how you can leverage that, and how creators now can take back, and they can there was just so many different ways on how they would have to go to Hollywood and all this stuff. I think today they're really taking the power back it really brings the power back to the creator and the brands, instead of so many middlemen involved. I think those are the two powers that are really coming together here.
Yeah, and also to build on that, I agree with Dov, because I think that this is very attractive to Gen Z, millennials, and boomers. Meaning, this is a platform that is very, very. It's a language that the older crowd can understand, because they're buying a brand that everybody knows, and it's something that the younger generation is now interested in doing. So we felt that BlockBar, as I was saying earlier, removes the barrier of entry for NFTs. It really bridges the gap between this digital and physical world, meaning you still are going to have the physical asset tied to the digital asset. You can have either one that you prefer. So it's much easier for people to wrap their head around. And because of the brands we're dealing with, like a brand like Glenfiddich, it's something that someone who's 21 is interested in, someone who's 30 is interested in, and someone who's 50 is interested in. So it does make it very interesting and very exciting.
And I would just add that the last thing is, with the consumers that we spoke to yesterday, a lot of them, when we asked them what was the most expensive whiskey bottle you've ever bought, it wasn't more than $100. But when you deliver to them in the right way, in the way that they're used to buying, in the way that in the world that they understand,
they want to buy.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience. And now this will be, they'll be tied to this brand forever, whether they sell it on or they redeem it or not.
Creates the story.
It creates a story. When they go to a bar, they're gonna say, I own a Glenfiddich bottle, that's worth this much, and I'm gonna go drink a glass of Glenfiddich. It creates that relationship between the brand and consumer, and that's really what we want to create.
Very good. Will, anything to add from your perspective?
I've been working in the industry for 20 years and in and around rare malts for at least 12 to 15 years. And I just think this is a really exciting innovation that has benefits for buyers, for us as a distillery and a brand, and also for the industry. And it'd be really exciting to see where this goes. And actually at its heart, that's what Glenfiddich's about, is pushing the boundaries of whiskey innovation. And it's just exciting to be here and work with the guys at BlockBar to deliver this. So it feels like a great moment. A great moment.
Very good. And are there going to be more than 15 bottles in the future, or is this it for this one?
For the Glenfiddich Armagnac, 1973, we will keep to the 15 bottles, but we have got an exciting pipeline of other rare whiskies and exclusive additions to come down. So watch this space. Very
good. Perfect point to end on. This is such a fascinating topic. Thank you for joining me, Dov. Sam, thank you as well. You've just come off a plane from New York. You're now in London, straight into this. So I really appreciate this, and hopefully we'll catch up at some point in the future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.